family? It's Nicole, and today you're going to learn the kettlebell clean. Specifically, I'm going to go over a couple of drills that help you build up to the kettlebell clean and explain why these drills are important and what they're supposed to teach you so that you can practice them and kind of clean up your clean. Dad jokes, bada boom, bada bing. So without further ado, let's get started. The only thing that I'm assuming is that you have a kettlebell. So that's all you need for this. I want you barefoot if you can so that you can feel the earth and kind of use your toes, big toe, little toe to grab into it. And then the other thing is don't do as I do as I say. So generally you're going to want to be obstruction free on your wrists because you are going to be having some things rest on those wrists. So let's take my own advice right here and get rid of that scrunchie. I never take these off, so I've just flipped them around, and you can do that with your Apple Watch or something you have too, just flip it right around. Now, the important thing about the kettlebell clean, the first is to understand its value. So the clean is a movement that we use to get the bell up into what is called the racked position, which we will talk about. And then it is also used to go for overhead presses, to go for swings into a swing or into another swing to clean. So it's very useful to be able to just hold the bell and understand how to do that comfortably and how to execute it without hurting your wrists, leaving bruises, all that jazz. So without further ado, let's talk about the different steps. Step number one is going to be a kettlebell deadlift. Normally you would do this with two hands. I want you using one hand. So you're going to set the bell up between the arcs of your feet, and then you are going to hinge back to pick that bell up. So when you hinge back, what I want you to see is that I'm pushing my hips back. Yeah, there's a deep bend in my knees because I need to drop my body low to be able to have my hand on this bell. However, it's really important that you know it's not just a squat down. You are trying to hit your booty behind you and get a nice flat back so we're not arcing or rounding down. So from here, you're going to put your hand next to the corner of this bell. So I'm going to walk closer to you so that you can see this. The bell, I'm not holding it in the center because if I clean it from here, it's going to probably bang on my wrist. Where I want to hold it is right before the curve, not on the curve so that it's angled, but right before it. And this is how I'm holding it. You can see my cute little kettlebell nails. Just kind of right there, boom. All right, so this is where we start from. And the next thing I'm going to want to do there is pack that shoulder in. So there is going to be a difference between allowing my weight to fall forward and have a loose shoulder versus pretending like there's dollar bills between my armpits, really getting my weight in my heels and my glutes. So if somebody were to tackle me, I could probably like push back on them and packing that shoulder. So this is your starting position. From here, without the weight, you're going to go ahead and drive up and then drive back down. Drive up, drive back down. So I want you to think of this motion not as kind of folding, but as a straight, almost as if you're gonna jump into the air and squeeze your glutes. I want you to think of an arrow or energy line going down through your heels and grounding through the ground, and then at the top coming straight up the top of your head as well. Because it's really a standing plank when we stand up. Everything is tight, everything is working. So we go from this deadlift and inhale back down. Exhale up, inhale back down. You can see my glutes are squeezed at the top. My shoulder is not slumped over, it's active. The crown of my head is up. So that's step one, the deadlift, so that you can understand the purpose of the hips being the main driver. When we do a kettlebell clean, I think a lot of people think it's an upper body movement, but the power, just like in a swing or a snatch, is still coming from your hips. I've had clients that do this and they are surprised how much they feel it in their hamstrings and their glutes. So that's where you want to be feeling it, and that's where you want your power to be generated from. Move number two is going to be called a gunslinger, all right? So you're going to start with that deadlift, and then you're going to zip the bell up, and as you zip it up, you're gonna see that your elbow comes in. All right, so it goes from down to in, and you're gonna hold the ball of the kettlebell right here. So you got the handle here and the ball here. And the purpose of this motion is to make sure that you're keeping the kettlebell close to your body. So once you go into that clean, if the kettlebell is arcing all the way out here, no bueno, not good. It's not gonna be good. This is also gonna make sure that you can get that bell up and lock out in that plank position fast enough using the hip snap. Because if you don't use the hips, it's gonna look something like this and the bell is gonna be falling. But if you use the hips, that bell is gonna be able to land at an angle where it's shooting out, right? So the move goes like this, body weight first, elbow back, 2, 3. And then we try it with the weight for 3. 1, 2, 3. All right? So that's the move. Gunslinger's number 2. Now, number 3, we're gonna go into a half kneeling position, and I'm gonna show you a cheat clean. And this is important because once you're cleaning the bell, you do need to get it into the racked position. And we don't want, I'll show you with one of the smaller bells, what we don't want is to see this bell flip over and then bump into your wrist. What we do want is to see this bell go through your hands and around. So it's really the ability to go from this position to this position. This position where you're cleaning it up to this position. Boom, 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 right? So you can see the end position, it's going through my thumb and around, and then it's resting right here in the groove between my forearm and my bicep. So in order to practice that, we're gonna grab a larger bell, go into a half kneeling, which is kind of like your lunge position, but on the floor. And all you're gonna do is practice gunsling and then wrap that bell around. So this is step 1, right? Gunsling it, wrap the bell around. Gunsling it, that was a bad rep, wrap the bell around. One more. Gunsling it, wrap the bell around, okay? Now you're gonna try with 2 hands, and all you're gonna do is go, let me see what's the best way to show you this. Like this, from here, up, right? Keep that arm open and allow your opposite hand to be the cup so that you're really transitioning from having the bell across these lines right here on your palms into that diagonal position. So it starts down and it goes up. Starts down, goes up. Keep the bell nice and close to your body. That's right, okay? So then you kind of get these stages where you're like, okay, elbow back, it's still in the palm of my hand. It starts to transition, boom, it's locked out into that nice horizontal across the palm. All right, so that's the half kneeling cheat clean. You could even try the cheat clean from a standing position where you go on the ground and then end with it here. You should be able to have your fingertips and those would point towards the ceiling. Half kneeling cheat clean. So we've done the deadlift, we've done the gunslinger, and we've done half kneeling cheat cleans. And the next one that we're gonna learn is the racked position. So we're gonna do racked position, how to drop the bell, and then we'll put the whole thing together. All right, so I'm gonna grab my lighter bell because I'm probably gonna be holding it here for a while. So the racked position, I really do think the holding it is really important. So it is between this finger and your thumb. Your hand is in the corner of that bell, as you can see. So as opposed to when we started here, right, next to that corner, not in it, when it slides into that corner, and you are using the corner of that bell. It goes across the palm, and then it rests between your forearm and your bicep. This is the racked position. Now, what is going to be a little controversial, but the correct way to do it if you're talking about Russian style kettlebell or hard style kettlebell, right, RKC or hard style, is going to be this position right here, and you're going to want a straight up and down from your elbow to your knuckles, okay? I'll show you what is semi-okay and what we don't want to see. So we do want to land like this. Let's start with the very top. A lot of times we see the wrist fall out. We really don't want to be doing this. It's going to put a lot of weird strain on our wrist. So you do want to make sure that your knuckles are facing towards the ceiling. And we already said a great test for that is fingertips up, and they should be making a line with your elbows and with the ceiling, okay? Next up, we're going to see a lot of this, where the bell kind of angles in a bit, and we got more of like the upside down V or an A, all right here. And this often happens when we get tired of holding it in the racked position. So we're trying to find some relief by like holding it here or holding it here. That is the one that I will say is okay. As you're in a workout and you get more and more tired, if it starts to come in towards the chest, it's not going to be the end of the world for that one. And I see it a lot, but I do want you to just be aware that the proper racked position is up and down, okay? Because what happens is we start leaning them on our chest and really stealing from the strength and power we're supposed to be developing here. The next thing that you often see is going to be with the elbows. So you'll see the elbows come up. I do not like this one. I don't like it at all. So I think that this is usually, you see a lot of guys doing this, honestly, for when they want to use big weights and they want to keep doing reps. They'll start to rest the kettlebell on their bicep as a shoulder, right? Like, so it's like a little rest perch, and then go for another overhead press and then rest it right here. When in reality, the full range of motion, which we do want to hit that full range of motion, is going to be bringing it back in and then kind of opening the shoulder girdle in that J position and then closing it back in to here, which is equally still going to tire your shoulders out as the type of press that you're doing. So I don't know why you would want to cheat that. I definitely think that maybe if you're going super heavy, it might be helpful, but at that point, use dumbbells or drop the ego and lower your weight a little bit. And that happens for all athletes and all purposes. I think sometimes we put speed over what is actually capable. I'm going on a tangent. Did you all notice? All right, so let's get back to this racked position. We know we want vertical, no elbows flaring, no holding it on the shelf, right? No holding it up here and then going back for one. Ouch. Always here, sometimes here, mostly here, okay? So that is your racked position. Now we're gonna talk about coming out of it. The same way that you came into it, right? You're gonna wanna come out of it. So this bell, I'm just gonna show you what it does. It comes down, 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 then it transfers to what? My callus area, and I rotate it to the floor. So this is gonna be horizontal on the floor, and then I'm gonna make sure I'm pulling it up, up, elbow in, passes through to my across horizontal position, right? Boom, down, boom, up. So when you drop, you wanna let it drop into that nice cradled position. That's it, keeping it close to the body. The drill that you can do for this is come to standing. For the racked position, try holding a nice heavy bell in the racked position. You don't even have to worry about cleaning it up. Just make sure you get it in a nice racked position and you can hold. If you want to work on that racked position and the amount of time that you spend in it, I would then add in a march. So now you're marching either with a single racked position, which I would say have your hand out here, make sure you're taking your time on the marches, or you can do double racked too. That's really gonna be a core burner, double racked marches. And the number one thing you're gonna have to make sure you're not doing is as you get into those reps, leaning backwards, all right? So once you get this racked position, you're gonna practice getting out of the racked position and letting it drop to the floor. Notice when I drop to the floor, this is something I see a lot. People just like, what is that, right? I don't think I know how to have bad form, but a lot of people kind of just round their back or just drop the weight. The drop to the floor is still part of the clean. Make sure that sinks in. So when you're dropping to the floor, you're reversing from the across the palm down to the hook position, okay? So you might want to practice that a few times, get the belt up just into the rack position, and practice the drop to the floor, which is also in the hinge, all right? Now, we're just gonna put it all together. We're gonna put from that deadlift to the gunslinger into the racked position and the drop in a kettlebell clean. So it starts between your feet. Inhale back, find your nice hip hinge, weight in the heels, flat back. Give it a good tug as if you're going to clean that bell up, but don't, just so you know what it's gonna feel like. And then you're gonna snap these hips on the exhale, keeping the elbow close. 3, 2, 1. And you can see how I pulled and punched this all the way up and lowering it down. So I'll do about 4 here for you. And you can see I can even put my hand here and make sure that I'm keeping the clean really narrow, as if it's close to a wall. And that, my friends, is the kettlebell clean as well as the racked position. I hope that this was helpful for you. Comment if you have any other questions about the kettlebell clean. It is such an important and underrated movement in the world of kettlebells, and I really want you to nail it. If you are so willing, you can also send me a video of your kettlebell clean to my Instagram, DM it to me, and I'd be more than happy to look it over and give you some pointers. Okay, see you next time.